Winter is coming. 62% of small business owners in the United States fear the worst is future. The official start of winter is only a few days later, and many small business owners worry that their business may not come to the beginning of spring. This is especially true for small businesses that rely on face-to-face interaction. Restaurants, bars, gyms, cafes, hairdressers, and independent retailers all over the country have been absolutely devastated by the first round of closures. And now a new round of isolation is giving death blows to countless businesses hoping to find a way to recover and stand up in 2021. Politicians like California Governor Gavin Newsom and New York Governor Andrew Cuomo don't seem to care that they really destroy millions of hopes and dreams. If this epidemic finally ends, they will continue their normal lives, but not a large part of their voters. According to a brand new survey of small businesses by the US Chamber MetLife, only 40% of all small business owners in the United States believe that their small business can now work indefinitely, according to the course of business, and 62% of them are convinced of this. The worst will still come. The quarterly poll found that the 62% of small business owners fear that the worst is still to come with COVID-19's economic impact. Only 40% said they believe their small businesses can operate indefinitely during the current business environment. These numbers are consistent with those shown by other recent surveys of small businesses. There are around 30 million small businesses in the United States today, and that means we would lose 10 million small businesses if even a third of them were forced to close permanently. Can you imagine what this means for the economy as a whole? The same US Chamber MetLife's small business survey revealed that 74% of all small business owners in the United States need more government assistance to overcome the pandemic. A new US Chamber MetLife poll of small businesses taken from October 30 to November 10th and released on Tuesday showed that 74% of the owners said they need further government assistance to weather the pandemic. That percentage rises to 81% for minority-owned businesses. And most of these small business owners aren't kidding when they say they desperately need help. According to the latest Alignable Lease survey, 35% of all small businesses in the United States failed to pay their rents this month. Several B2C industries are in ruins. 61% of restaurants are unable to pay their rents this month. This increased from 42% in November to 19%. 35% of small businesses in the United States were unable to pay their rents this month, up 3% from 32% in November. Beauty salons, which is 46%, and travel hospitality businesses, 43%, complete the top 3 most affected businesses, but most of the others are having trouble. Looking at demographics, minority-owned businesses suffer the most, as 49% of them reported that they could not afford their rent in December. This figure is 5% higher than November. Women-owned businesses are also struggling, which is 38% of those who did not pay their rent, up 3% from 35% last month. This doesn't seem like a recession. When more than a third of small businesses in the whole country cannot even pay their rent, this is called economic collapse. When we look at federal tax receipts, we can see more evidence of the economic collapse. In the last 9 months, the decrease in tax receipts is the biggest decrease in records. The pandemic hit the economy in March, triggering widespread job loss and partial and full closing of many small businesses. In November, 9 months into the pandemic, federal gross withheld income tax receipts were off 13% from a year ago. That is roughly in line with the average decline of 15% recorded over the 9-month span, March through November. Checking the tax data records from the US Treasury, the decline in tax receipts over the last 9 months is the largest on record. The only comparable period is the 14% drop in 2009 during the Great Financial Recession. In other words, we've never seen anything like this before, and more Americans are pulling out of the middle class and falling into poverty. In fact, nearly 8 million more Americans have fallen into poverty since June. The US poverty rate has surged over the past 5 months, with 7.8 million Americans falling into poverty, the latest indication of how deeply many are struggling after government aid dwindled. The poverty rate jumped to 11.7% in November, up 2.4 percentage points since June, according to new data released Wednesday by researchers at the University of Chicago and the University of Notre Dame. Things are getting worse and happening very quickly. There are tragic stories everywhere you look. When I heard that a 2-year-old was abandoned in Goodwill store the other day, I was very upset. People can become very desperate when they feel that their options are running out, and desperate people do desperate things. Things are so bad at this point that they are even setting up food banks at US military bases. Fort Bragg, the largest military base in the United States, has all the trappings of a small American city: shopping centers, a barber shop, and social clubs. In a sign of the times, it also has a food bank. This spring, the YMCA on base, which started a food pantry last year to respond to the growing food insecurity among military families, saw a 40% increase in requests for groceries. During the same period, grocery requests to America Serves, a network that helps military families, jumped to the biggest service request in the organization's history. In theory, military bases shouldn't need food banks because everyone in the military receives a paycheck. At this point, however, the cost of living increases much faster than paychecks. Even military families are starting to go hungry. Of course, Congress is working feverishly on a new stimulus package to help alleviate the suffering of the American people. But some Democrats are extremely upset that they are forced to choose either enhanced unemployment benefits or $600 incentive checks for the American people. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez strongly criticized the apparent exchange for including a $600 incentive check at the cost of financing for improved unemployment insurance, calling it inhumane. The New York congressman tweeted, "It's barbaric for Republicans to force Dems to choose between incentive money or unemployment benefits." As if we couldn't easily do both. Do they know that people in the red states are also hungry? Or don't they care? Considering the fact that we currently have $27.5 trillion in debt, the truth is we can't really afford any of this. But if we are still in the process of liquidating the nation, we may want the biggest checks we can get. Unfortunately, nothing our leaders are doing now can prevent our economic collapse from getting worse in the end. We have been in the biggest debt crisis in the history of the human race over the past few decades, and now this bubble is in the process of bursting. Those who expect life to return to normal at some point will be deeply disappointed because the big meltdown has just begun, and 2021 looks like it will be a really painful year. Most of the idea, comment, information, and criticism containing in these videos have been created by Daily News Report. Before making any important investment decision, use the information contained in these videos as a starting point for conducting your own research. If you make any investment or legal decision, it is advised to consult an expert before making this decision.